acknowledgement. Councillor Payne. Yes.
I'm on a new computer and I'm slower. Just working on trying to figure out where I can find it.
Actually, I could help you, but my sheet is also seems to be missing from my desk here. Yes.
And it was on the desktop on my own computer. No longer on the desktop on my new computer. Here it is. In the spirit of respect, reciprocity, and truth, we honor and acknowledge the rich and intricate histories of Indigenous peoples, embracing their teachings and finding strength in progressing together. Across our community, we take action to create vibrant and inclusive spaces of learning and belonging for every citizen. We recognize that this land is situated on Treaty 6 territory and is the traditional home of the Niuwak, Anishinaabe, Nakota, Nistapi, Tsuut'ina, and the Métis Nation of Alberta. We respectfully acknowledge that the town of Sylvan Lake is situated on the shores of the Lake of the Snakes, east of the Medicine River, south of the Medicine Hills, west of the Wolf's Trail, and north of the Red Deer River. This land acknowledgement represents one of our commitments to reconciliation by building connections to those who walk these lands and together forging a path of respect, reciprocity, and truth for generations to come. We strive to learn and grow as a community by embracing the histories and teachings of our Indigenous peoples.
Thank you, Councillor Payne. Next, we'll move along to open microphone. Open microphone is an opportunity for a member of the public to express his or her feedback to the town. Our open microphone session is limited to a maximum of 15 minutes, and each speaker is limited to a maximum of 5 minutes. After the presentation, members of council will only ask questions of clarification. You will not receive a response back from council immediately after your presentation. Items that require a response will be brought back forward at a future date. And we do have one sign up for open microphone, Mr. Detre. Welcome. And you know the drill better than most. A whole bunch of beeps, and then we're happy to hear from you.
Your Worship, consider. Good afternoon. I wish to briefly comment on a point that was largely discussed during November 4th Committee of the Whole as part of the 2026 Capital Budget Presentation Guideline. And by this, I mean the proposed de-itemization of individual budget items. A justification to bundle capital budget items is to prevent them from being used as bid target, by lack of a better word. As a former contractor, I find this assumption bewildering, but maybe mining business is different from municipal business. So, if you subscribe to the above theory, please cut itemized budget by 20% forthwith. If future bid reflects this, then municipal business is definitively nothing like mining business, and I will be wrong. But I will be delighted to be wrong if that can save Sylvan Lake 20% on its capital expenditure. Furthermore, in the current system, the budget value is public knowledge and therefore does not give any advantage, real or supposed, to any contractor. However, if that value becomes confidential, knowing it would, supposedly, give an unfair advantage to whoever happened to know it. Hence, accusation will inevitably fly at one time or another that a competitor, through malice or carelessness, became aware of this budget forecast and used it to gain a supposed advantage. My question is, why risk such a situation? Respectfully submitted, Mike Détaille.
Thank you. Council, do we have any questions? Seeing none, appreciate the feedback. Thank you. All right, next we'll move into adoption of the agenda. Ms. Phillips, do we have any additions or changes to the agenda?
We do not.
Excellent. Would someone like to move to adopt? Councillor Mearns.
Make a motion to adopt the agenda.
All those in favor? And opposed? That is carried. I did not ask if there was anything, so if there were any changes, I hope you spoke quickly. Next, we'll move to the consent agenda. Consent agenda is an item used to increase meeting efficiency. Council, any items that are recommended to be placed in the consent agenda are marked on the cover page with an asterisk. If you have any extensive questions or you'd like to debate any of these items, I'll just ask that you pull them from the consent agenda items prior to that motion being made. So Council, we'll start with that. Are there any items that you have any questions on or would like to pull from the consent agenda list? I do have a high-level question around item number 6D, and it's not for an answer today, so I think I'm okay to include it and just hoping the information will come back when we come back for second reading. But I'm curious if the membership numbers have gone up or down since the rate increase last year on the Nexor Centre memberships. So I'm hoping that's something that could come back with second reading. And I know that's not a change we're looking at as a part of this. Any other items, Council, that we have questions on or we'd like to see removed? No. Would someone like to make a motion? Councillor Iwanicki.
I move to adopt the consent agenda as proposed.
And we do need you to read that very long list. Thanks for putting your hand up.
You tricked me with your silence. All right. Where is the consent agenda? 4? Okay.
Very bottom there.
It goes on to page 5.
Okay. Grand. All right. So I propose that that the 2025-10-14 regular meeting of council meeting minutes be approved as presented, that the 2025-10-29 organizational meeting of council minutes or meeting minutes be approved as presented, that the 2025-11-04 committee of the whole meeting minutes be approved as presented, and that council appoints the applicant Serena Reed to the Economic Development Community Advisory Committee in the role of commercial property owner for the term to expire on October 2027, that council reassign Anzi Tuadris to the commercial property developer position as per report AIR-1265. The council approve first reading of the fees and charges bylaw 1932-2025 as outlined in AIR-1259. That council set December 9th, 2025 at 4 p.m. in council chambers of the Municipal Government Building, and that time and or date and time for the public hearing, or as that, good Lord, as the date and time for the public hearing on bylaw 1936-2025, that council set December 9th, 2025 at 4 p.m. in council chambers of the Municipal Government Building as the date and time for the public hearing on bylaw 1937-2025, and that council adopts the council remuneration policy as presented in report AIR 1264.
Nailed it. Thank you. Council, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor and opposed? That is carried unanimously. Thank you. What we didn't tell you is once you do that once, it's forever your job. So, yeah, I'll just call you. All right, we'll move along to business item 6B, Extended Producer Responsibility Agreement Extension. Mr. Watson, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. We are here to request council approval to authorize the CAO to finalize and execute an agreement extension for curbside recycling collection services within the framework of the Extended Producer Responsibility Program. For those unfamiliar with the EPR program, the most important thing to recognize is that we the town, are no longer responsible for most aspects of recycling, since the program shifts the financial and operational responsibility from the town to producers, manufacturers, and importers. Most Canadian provinces are either active in the EPR program or transitioning to that framework. In Alberta, at least 232 municipalities represent 90% of Albertans reside in a municipality that participates in the EPR program, including Sylvan Lake. The EPR program is intended to ease the financial burden on municipalities, encourage waste reduction, and provide opportunities for all residents to recycle. On April 1st, 2025, when Phase 1 of the EPR program began, the town signed an agreement with a producer responsibility organization to become a contracted service provider for providing Blue Cart curbside recycling, and then signed a second agreement with the Pro to provide recycling depot services. A Pro is a nonprofit group whose responsibility is to assist product suppliers in meeting their EPR obligations. Phase 1 of the program ensures that all residential properties in Sylvan Lake, including small multifamily dwellings, receive curbside recycling services, and Phase 2 of the program, which begins on October 1st, 2026, ensures that all remaining large multifamily dwellings receive recycling collection. The cost of collection is paid directly by the Pro to the contracted service provider, which in our case is the town. Commercial, institutional, and industrial properties are not included in the EPR program and must either provide their own recycling services or use the town's 2 recycling depots. Since the town is the contracted service provider for recycling services, we are compensated by the Pro for our costs of about $30,500 per month, or about $366,000 per year. Of this annual amount, about $254,000 is compensation for providing Blue Cart recycling, and about $112,000 for the operation of the recycling depots. To date, Council has not lowered the residential utility rate relative to the EPR revenue, since Council has not received the requested information regarding the frequency of recycling collection, weekly versus bi-weekly, which will affect the cost of recycling, since the EPR program will not compensate municipalities that change to weekly collection. This information will be presented in early January to the Committee of the Whole in a draft solid waste master plan, which is a strategic planning document that, among other things, will make a recommendation for Blue Cart collection frequency. Administration plans on requesting a decision on recycling collection frequency and then presenting rate options for Council's consideration during the 2026 budget deliberations, which will be soon after the draft master plan has been presented and discussed. With the current agreement for providing curbside recycling services between the town and the Pro expiring on September 30th, 2026, the Pro is requesting a contract extension for 3 years to September 30th, 2029. That request, which is included as Attachment 1, basically provides Council with 2 options for consideration. The first option is to extend the agreement. This would maintain the status quo, and Public Works will continue to manage and operate all aspects of the curbside recycling collection program for the term of the contract extension, while receiving financial compensation from the Pro for providing the service. If this option is chosen by Council, Administration will finalize the details of the contract extension, and the CAO will execute the agreement at her discretion. Choosing this option allows the town to retain control of all aspects of the curbside recycling program, including customer inquiries and service requests, but while continuing to carry the risk and liabilities associated with cart collection operations. The second option, to allow the agreement to expire, would result in a private contractor of the Pro's choosing taking over curbside recycling collection on October 1st, 2026. The town would no longer have oversight of the program and would no longer be financially compensated for providing the service. The compensation would be paid by the Pro directly to the new service provider and not by the town. Should Council choose this option, Public Works will begin planning for the disbursement or repurposing of unnecessary assets, including a recycle collection vehicle, Blue Carts, which we own, and the reallocation of staff resources. Choosing this option removes all control of the curbside collection program, but also removes those risks and liabilities associated with collection operations at no cost to the town. Although this is a unique opportunity to relinquish the responsibility of providing curbside recycling services at no cost, Public Works places a high value on the service that is currently provided to residents and recommends that Council authorize the CAO to execute the contract extension. This decision can be reevaluated by Council at any point during the term of the contract and can be reversed by giving the pro adequate notice as per the terms of the agreement, or by simply allowing the contract to expire in 2029. To date, administration has not received an offer to extend the agreement for recycling depot operations, which also expires on September 30th, 2026, but we expect information on that from the pro soon. Administration has presented some options for Council's consideration, including to extend the agreement or to allow the agreement to expire, and respectfully recommends that Council authorize the CAO to finalize the agreement extension and to execute it at her discretion, pardon me. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Council, we'll start with any questions of administration on this agenda item. Councilor Mearns.
Yeah, just a quick question on the revenue side of this thing. Is it a break even for us, or is it a little bit of revenue that we see out of it the way it's being done today?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, good question. It appears, and through the chair, you know, it is not a revenue situation. It's a break even situation. Back when the EPR agreement was being negotiated, we provided them a table of our costs. They agreed to those costs, and they agreed to compensate us for those costs.
Councilor Winicki.
I believe thank you so much. I believe I kind of put forward an advanced question on this. I'm just curious, if we let the deal expire, is there an expected increase in cost to the residents?
Yeah, thank you. Good question. And the answer is no. The pro is responsible for paying the costs of the program, not the town of Sylvan Lake. So at any point, including now, up to the master plan, the draft master plan that will be presented to council, to October 1st, 2026, council has the option of reducing or eliminating the recycle rate because the revenue is being paid by the pro, which would substitute the monies needed from the town for the operation of the program from residents. Thank you.
Councillor Oostende, and then Johannesson.
Wondering about potentials to change service levels. If it's under pro direct control or under our own control, are there differences in our ability to change the service level? And I'd question cost too, but the main question I have is, are we able to?
Thank you. And through the chair, it's complicated. It probably can be done. So the pro is responsible for recycling in Sylvan Lake and not the town of Sylvan Lake by agreement. Their mandate is recycling every 2 weeks. Right now they pay us to provide the service. As long as the town of Sylvan Lake is collecting recyclables, curbside, blue cart recyclables I'm referring to, we can collect weekly. That extra cost would be at our expense, which is why the previous council, and I don't want to speak for them, but I believe that's why the previous council chose not to adjust the rates, because they wanted to make a decision on recycling frequency. So if the town agrees to extend the agreement for 3 years, we certainly can go to weekly collection. We can eat those excess costs, and then we could reduce the recycling rate from the current rate to a reduced rate while still receiving enough money from the pro and the residents to pay for weekly collection. If the town chooses not to extend the agreement, the pro will hire a private contractor to start collecting recyclables every 2 weeks. We would then be forced to negotiate with that private contractor, whoever that may be, to pay them extra monies to go to weekly collection. Now, in 3 years, in the attachment, the letter from the pro, Circular Materials Corporation, to the town mentions a line near the bottom that says, be aware in 2029, the town could become an opt-out, which means that even if we go to weekly collection and we decide to pay it, and we decide to provide weekly collection service in 2029, the pro then could opt out of our contract and not extend the agreement, even if the town was willing to. So that's why I say it's complicated. There's a whole bunch of, yes, it can be done, but it depends on the direction council wants to go. The first step would be obviously tonight on deciding whether to extend the agreement or not. And then if council still chooses to go to weekly collection, you know, probably after they hear the recommendation and the details in the solid waste master plan, then we would figure out a strategy moving forward and present those options to council.
Sure. Councillor Johannesson, another question.
Yeah, so, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's a break-even revenue. If we let the contract expire, it doesn't cost us anything. Currently, we take on the risks. If we let it expire, we don't take on the risks. So, and again, I'm more looking for your information. If it seems to me if we let it expire, we're just getting rid of the risks. So I guess one, what are the risks associated? And two, does it make sense to continue on if there's no difference in revenue, but we're actually getting rid of the risk? And then what would be, I guess, the cons to that? Because that, to me, seems like it would be a good thing.
Yes, thank you. And through the chair, no, that's exactly the question. So there is no difference in revenue, whether you extend the agreement or let the agreement end. There's no difference. You know, we can still reduce the amount that council chooses if they choose to reduce the amount that of the levy that the residents pay. For sure, the decision will be, does council want Public Works to continue providing the service with us controlling customer complaints or service levels and responding to those complaints, and or while carrying on the risk and liabilities. And by risk and liabilities, I'm talking about collisions and damage and injuries associated with an operation moving large garbage trucks down small alleys. Certainly there's risk and liabilities, and those are the risks and liabilities that I'm referring to. So well, you nailed it. That's exactly the question. Do you want Public Works to maintain the service levels but carry the risk, or give up the risk and let a private contractor take over the service levels? And that's exactly the question. And the two choices that are laid before council, for sure.
Councillor Payne, another question.
Well, my question, actually, Mr. Watson answered my question when he answered that question. So my question was going to be about the service levels. You know, it's a high service level right now where we control the service and the town has control of the operations, and it doesn't cost us anything. In a lot of situations, we find ourselves in working with contractors, we don't get to control what's going on with contractors. We don't get to control. We have expectations, and we can work with contractors to hopefully meet those expectations. But this is one where we are the expectation, and as a result, we get to decide how that service level is maintained. That's not something that happens frequently. This is one of those rare unicorns. I would like to see this be one of those things that we continue to do, because I think
Councillor
the town.
Payne, just before you get too far, to the question.
We'll get to it, but
Thank you.
the point I want to make is this is one of those good things that I think we do, and I think we do well. So let's get to the motion so we can have the other piece of it.
I do have some more questions, so do you have a question?
I will happily put forth a motion.
All right, let's finish up our questions and I will come right back to you. Councillor Mearns, you have a question.
You may not have this off the top of your head. In the last, let's say, 24 months, has there been collisions and liability issues that we've experienced through this program?
Yeah, there has been 5 or 10. 5 to 10, and the collisions are garages and fences, cars. Those type of risks and liabilities are good examples.
Question that I have is around the actual people who provide the service. If we move to a contracted service, currently part of their wage would be covered as a part of this. we no longer have a requirement for those staff members, or would we be taking on the expense of them, so then there is a cost?
Yeah, thank you. So the assets, the ones mentioned in the report, was a recycle collection vehicle. By giving up, by letting the agreement expire, you know, we reduce our fleet from 4 to 3 vehicles. The blue carts we own, and you know, like, they can be repurposed for green carts, should the master plan lead us that way and council make that decision, or they can be sold to the new contractor. But staff resources, we commit about 0.75 of resource to collection of recyclables, curbside recyclables, blue cart. We also have a staff position in 2026 budget, and we also have a great demand for extra hours at the waste transfer site and keeping the West End Recycle Facility, which we're moving on Wednesday to Bucato Park. And when we talk about repurposing those staff positions, that's kind of where we got in mind. We'd give up the 2026 request for a staff position should council choose to terminate the agreement, and we would repurpose that staff member to the needs in the 2026 budget. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, thank you. All right, do we have any other questions? Councillor Payne, you have a motion for us.
I make a motion that council authorizes the chief administrative officer to finalize the details of the statement of work agreement extension for curbside recycling collection with the producer responsibility organization, Circular Materials Corporation, and to execute the agreement extension at her discretion as presented in report AIR 1209.
Sure. Do you have any comments to follow?
Well, just that I think, you know, as I mentioned before, I think having the opportunity to do this work ourselves, to be able to be in control of the service levels and to be in control of the pieces that come along with that, and so the complaints and being able to address things for people as quickly and as efficiently and as professionally as we do. It's to me, it's one of those things that we do well. We should continue to do it well. We're not sure what you're going to get when it goes into the hands of another contractor. I do believe that the recycling piece is one of those things we do very well. You know, there are a lot of communities that still don't, and we do. And I would like to very much see us maintain this. It's not one of those things where we're in it permanently, and things as they move forward can change. In 2029, as Mr. Watson said, you know, there's going to be some changes, or the possibility of significant change. So I would like to see it continue the way it is, going forward with us being in control of it.
Sure. Councillor Burns.
Yeah, I'd echo some of those same thoughts, and the push and pull here for me is just the liability piece. But if we have that control, and if there is a liability issue, then it is the town looking after it. It's not a third party. You know, not to say the third party would, but you know, maybe there's issues on the liability side in helping our residents where we own that liability, we're responsible to the resident, and it keeps it in-house that way. And then the service levels, we can, you know, predict them, and Mr. Watson and his team has been at it long enough time to know, you know, what needs to be done and able to respond to concerns, and so I'm in favor of extending it.
Councillor Stindy.
Yeah, I'm attracted by the idea of extending it for another contract period for the thoughts around service level. For instance, I noticed in, I think it's the CAO report in January, or in during the Christmas break, between the Christmas and New Year's, I should say, we're going to have an extra collection. So that's something that we just do. It serves residents very well, and we recognize that. Going through a company who will take that contract is probably a very, very large company with a 1-800 number, and to get them to individualize services for our town, I kind of see as that ain't going to happen too often. Another small detail that I like is that, for instance, we as a town at our recycling depots, we know what the people on the ground will need for information, signage, leading to depots, and calling the local number, because they're probably going to still call us anyways, even if it is supposed to be at the 1-800 number. We know how to react quicker to people's needs, and it could be something as simple as just signage at depots, and I do hope to enter that conversation to know how we could change our service levels a bit, not the idea necessarily week by week, but this would keep it more effectively in our hands. And that's why I lean that way.
Councillor Johansson.
I guess I'm curious to look into more options or details of what a private contractor would be. And I respect that what everyone's saying with keeping it in-house, but I also think that we don't want to be scared of doing something new because it could, you know, we don't know. Because I think the fear of the unknown is real. But in my mind, what I'm thinking is if we let the contract expire and all we're losing is actual liability, which is 5 to 10 a year, how much ever money that costs us, it seems like we're saving money for the taxpayers of Sylvan Lake. And so, I mean, obviously this is 3 of us, it's our first meeting here, so our information isn't as in depth, but I definitely would like to explore what getting a private contract for this looks like, and if that's something that might be beneficial to the residents of Sylvan Lake and to Sylvan Lake as a whole. So I don't want to shut down that idea. I mean, I don't know, are we voting on this right now, today? Okay, so I guess that's basically what I want to say. I think it's something that, sorry, can I ask?
Yes, go ahead.
If we agree to extend it, you said something, I believe, in there about it's something we can look at in the future before 2029? It doesn't have to be, we're locked in. Just because personally, I'd like to research this a little bit more, and obviously we're making a decision today, so.
Yeah, thank you. If we sign an extension to 2029, we can reevaluate that decision at any point by giving the pro-adequate notice, and I believe it's 12 months, and get out of the agreement by giving them the adequate notice, or obviously by allowing the agreement to expire.
Councillor Oostende.
That's in part why I don't feel so consequential on my decision today. I lean towards the service for sure, but I realize that, hey, in 3 years, this council will reevaluate it, or sooner. And also we'll be able to start to see how this, the pro folks will be organizing at that corporate level with their companies, contractors, and see what would that look like and how is it going in other towns? Because I'm sure there's other towns that will sway the other way.
I appreciate, and then I'll go to Councillor Bilodeau, appreciate that there is also that 12-month potential clause. Really, one of the challenges I'm having is I'm really looking forward to this greater conversation in the new year around what overall recycling waste looks like and whether we want to change those service levels. And I do think having that in-house certainly makes it easier for us to change that service level in this next very short period until we're able to make that decision. Because I do think there's a much greater conversation that needs to be had here. Councillor Bilodeau.
My question simply was, have we got any information on the comparison to go private? Like, surely that was something that was looked at before or during the program?
Thank you for the question, and through the chair. Are you asking, have we compared our service with the private sector, or do we know what the private sector might look like if we don't extend the agreement?
If there was ever a comparison done, like I would think at some point when we entered, because we know at one point in time we didn't have a blue bin project, and when you went into it, you would have researched the difference in cost to do it in-house versus having somebody do it. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for the clarity. Yeah, yes, we've done that. And I'll say it was 2013 during the transition to Blackheart. If I recall correctly, during the RFP process, we asked for a provisional cost for providing garbage collection to compare ourselves with the private sector. And I remember it being close and we were slightly cheaper. And I remember council the day discussing service levels. And with the town, they know what they're going to get for service levels and they're in control of that. And, but yeah, we've done it, but not for a while, a long time. Thank you.
Councillor Bilodeau or Iwaniki, do you have some thoughts on this item?
I guess the question is, are we making the motion today to extend?
Correct, yes. So the
Okay.
motion is on the floor of Councillor Payne.
Okay.
And we'll finish up any discussion. That's where we'd love to hear feedback, and then we will vote. Councillor Iwaniki, sure.
I believe we mentioned that the solid waste master plan is coming up for review or what have you in January, is that correct? So then we're able to look at this in more holistically at that point, correct?
Yes. Councillor Cindy?
I think some of us around the table, and I think I'll answer it correctly by saying we have to make this decision because legally we're bound to because of this program that is not in our control. We have to make a choice tonight. However, knowing that this program is as rigid as it is to us, we still have a 12-month clause. We could sit here in January and have the fuller conversation that we really want to have, and we have a window to get out in 12 months. We also have an automatic window out in 3 years too, regardless, because then you have to sign a new extension to the contract. So there's these multiple off-ramps that can occur. It's too bad that this program is so rigid and came at a certain date and tells us we have to make this decision now. And that's so often in our council work that we are not the masters of our own destiny. We constantly react to the winds of the province. And this is one of those examples where we're kind of thrown into this and we have to make a decision in a short order. We had to make a police commission. We had to, you know, et cetera, et cetera. It was just thrown at us, and we make the best decisions we can on the day, but we know we can refine it in future.
Councillor Ostindi, you summarized that well in a way that administration could not. So thank you for saying that. Do we have any further discussion on this, Council? All right, with that, we have a motion on the floor by Councillor Payne. All those in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. Thank you. All right, next we'll move to the request for budget adjustment, waste transfer site shelters. Mr.
Thank you.
Watson.
Thank you. This report is to request council approval for a budget adjustment to replace 2 recycling shelters at the waste transfer site that were destroyed by a fire on October 25th. Since the 2 shelters were uninsured, staff have obtained costs for their replacement and are prepared to accept a quotation for just under $29,000 for both, which excludes a contingency of about $6,000 for incidental costs such as electrical, lighting, and security cameras, bringing the total cost to replace the shelters to about $35,000. To fund the purchase, administration is requesting council approval for a budget adjustment from the solid waste reserve for an amount up to $35,000. The reserve has a forecasted year-end balance of just under $1.6 million. Once the budget adjustment has been approved by council, the new shelters will be ordered, installed, and open to the public within about 4 weeks. Because of the value of the shelters, staff will add them to our insurance schedule once the installation has begun. Excuse me, administration is satisfied with all aspects of the quotation that has been received and respectfully recommends approving the budget adjustment from the solid waste reserve for the purchase of the new 2 shelters for an amount not to exceed $35,000. Thank you.
Council, do we have any questions to start off with? Councillor Payne.
Is it a common practice, and I know nothing of this, but is it a common practice to not have the Quonsets insured?
Yeah, thanks for the question. When they were built, they were quite low value, and we're trying to find the price, but it was something like $6,000 to the best of our recollection. Plus, there was no contents of value, and plus our deductible for buildings is $5,000. So whoever was making the decision at the day, possibly me, must have evaluated all that and felt that it wasn't warranted to place insurance on those structures. Thank you.
Councillor Iwaniki and then Ostindi.
The contingency for the additional cameras, is that a requirement for the insurance?
It is. Thank you for the question. It is not. We occasionally have security issues at that waste transfer site, and we already do have security cameras in place. The security cameras that we got in mind will be actually placed inside the tent structures, one in the e-waste tent and one in the drop-in swap tent. And the video from those two cameras, by the way, is saved off-site, so if they ever burn down again, we would have the video of them. So no, it's an added security feature, and as far as I know, it's not required by insurance. Thank you.
Councillor Cindy.
Just wondering if thought had been given to building a slightly more permanent structure, and was it a matter of, like, I know if you use more solid materials, it costs more, but will they last longer than, say, a tent structure? What's the kind of give and take on that?
Thank you for the question, and through the chair, yeah, we discussed other options, and we were hesitant to go with a more permanent structure because, like a grad structure, for example, because a part of the future of that solid waste or the waste transfer site is to move the facility around. We plan a redesign of it, and in fact, we have that in the capital budget for future projects. So by going with a lighter duty movable structure, we felt it was better suited. The buildings don't have heat, and we also felt that it wasn't warranted to expend more money than we already were for installation. And we just felt that these were adequate for their use. Thank you.
If approved, what kind of timeline are we looking at before these would be back in action?
Yeah, thank you. If we get them ordered Wednesday, if approved tonight, we would have them reopened to the public within 4 weeks.
Oh. Okay. Council, any additional questions? Would someone like to put a motion forward? Councillor Ostindi?
I move that council approves a budget adjustment from the solid waste reserve for the purchase of 2 shelters at the waste transfer site for an amount not to exceed $35,000, including contingency, but excluding the GST as presented in report AIR 1261.
Excellent. Council, do we have any debate or comment on this? Seeing none, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor? And opposed? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Watson. Next, we'll move along to Alberta Municipalities Convention preparation. Ms. Phillips.
So I've included this agenda item partly to discuss if desired by council, any of the resolutions, if there was any discussion around those, as well as just to provide some high-end information on the conference. So it opens up the, tomorrow evening, I think, is when, I don't know if, does council have anything tomorrow evening? I think that one starts Saturday, or sorry, Wednesday. The agendas are attached. You'll have opportunities within the app to choose which breakout sessions you'd like to attend. And there are 2 sessions of resolutions that happen on Thursday. So the resolutions are attached. This is your opportunity as a municipality to vote. And this is a unique one. Instead of, normally everything we do is as a whole. So you as a council agree to how we move forward on something and then we vote as one. With resolutions, every councillor actually gets a vote. So within these sessions, there will be an opportunity for you to vote on whether or not you think that Alberta municipalities, the organizations, should spend time advocating for the motions that are brought forward. We as the town did second one motion for the town of Hinton regarding childcare facilities, or I think we changed it to childcare and after school. So that one's in there, but if there's any questions or comments about conference, or if anything that Mayor or other former councillors or councillors that have attended this conference before want to make note of, but this is the opportunity.
Thank you. Council will start if there's any, actually, let me start with a few. I do have a question on one. I'm also curious if anyone has a passion for the childcare resolution. As a seconder, we might want to prepare a couple of keynotes. We likely won't have to speak to it. The primary will do that. But certainly if people come all over the mics and there's points in support and against, we'd want to have a couple items prepared, as we've already chosen that we've supported that. The page number on that one is Geez, 39 of the resolutions book, thank you. And then my other question while we flip to there is around the resolution around the municipal accommodation tax implementation in Alberta. I'm curious if there's any administrative advice on this one. And we may not have that now. It could be something that comes after the fact, but prior to the resolution session. But are there any negative implications of this potentially on our local hotels? That's page 12 or 128 of the full agenda package. Councillor Ostindi, thank you.
I had one question about that municipal accommodation tax. Under the MGA, is that where its authority comes from, I assume? And can it be applied to Airbnbs? What do we call those things? Crowdsourcing accommodations? But just calling them Airbnb, everybody knows what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Just because that's the majority of our accommodation in our town, and I thought that might be a question worth knowing before we go to that debate in a couple of days from now.
I will gather more information on this item and work with our finance as well, and we'll send out some information.
That sounds great. Appreciate that. Yes, Councillor Johansson.
This is actually something I campaigned on, and I didn't even know it was illegal, so look at that. But I'm glad to see it in here. You can do it on Airbnbs. It's been done. It's been done in Alberta. Banff has done it. So I'm wondering what the difference. It has been done before, so it definitely can be done on Airbnbs. You know, as far as everything that I've seen and when I've been doing the research on this. Yeah, it's good.
And actually, if you have any research on that, I'd be curious to read it as well. Yeah. Things sometimes work differently in Banff because they are in a park and there are different rules. So always curious how that plays out for the rest of the province. Councillor, are there any other items that we have questions that we, yes?
So I got the app for the munis, and I went out and picked the breakout sessions that I wanted to be in and put it into my schedule. Is that what we're doing, or we want to kind of see? I just did it. Obviously it's not, not locked to it, but I had already done it. So
my recommendation is that we plan to spend breakfast together most days, and that's a great time. And actually, often all meals you get a chance to catch up together. But that's a great time to say, "Hey, what are you guys going to this morning?" You all get to choose what you want, and if we're all really passionate about one topic, it is okay that we all attend one. But also sometimes it's nice to say, hey, well, why don't 2 of you go over here and 3 of you go over here and divide and conquer, and then we can meet back at lunch and share what we learned. So yes, that's exactly how I would do it. I've gone through and chosen my favorites, and in some time slots I've chosen 2 things and hope that that means someone else might be interested in taking the other one, and then we can just talk that through day by day over breakfast, if that works for everyone. Also during the resolution session is a nice one to sit together. We all get to vote individually, but there's great debate. So someone will present one of these items, and then people can go up to the speakers and speak in opposition or in favor of it. So sometimes there'll be something that isn't really a high effect to Sylvan Lake. We may not have put a ton of thought into it because it really doesn't affect us. And then we'll see this mass debate happening that we go, oh, that's a different lens that we hadn't thought about. So we'll get a chance to have some side chatter as well as the voting takes place. Councillor Cindy.
One other question I believe would be worth hearing from our fire chief and department on would be there's a talk of an extended lifespan of fire apparatus in municipalities, and I was wondering if we fit that bill, because typically as the resolution talks about it, it's about places where the equipment isn't used heavily, and the life of that equipment probably lasts a lot longer than the certification limits, and it can save a lot of money, which is why they're proposing it. I'm wondering, do we fit in that category? Does that affect us as a community? Is there any comment from our fire chief? Just to guide us in our own thinking.
Thank you. And we won't, of course, hear back on the answers of those today, but there
No.
might be a couple of notes that make their way to us by email on Wednesday or Thursday prior to the session. Is there any other items that we have some questions around? I'll go back to the childcare item. Does anyone have a strong desire to be our spokesperson on that?
I was gonna say,
Great.
could be too.
Councillor Payne? There's not a lot that needs to be prepped for it, but just nice
be
if by
ready.
chance a resolution is put forward, we're the seconder and there's nothing but opposition that lines up to have it pre-planned. And multiple of us could speak from the same municipality as well. I don't see that being a really big challenge.
And if I remember seconding a motion, it's just announcing that we are seconding yeah, it's nothing.
Excellent. Councillor Payne, we'll put your name down next to that one.
Thanks.
Any further just Alberta municipalities as a whole questions? I think after the meeting, if we could take 2 minutes to talk about carpooling, that's probably the last logistic thing we need to sort out. But yes, and some of the check-in process, but we can probably skip that as a part of our formal meeting. Yes, Councillor Owenicky.
If I could just jump in for a sec. If Councillor Payne doesn't want to, I might be the only one with kids actually in childcare. I could also speak to it as well.
I'm good either way.
Okay.
I'm good.
We can talk after maybe?
Sounds great.
Okay.
And if needed, I mean, I could as well, all three of us could storm the mic, but I don't think it's going to be that. Let me give a spoiler. Most things at Alberta municipalities pass with quite a high percentage. And if they don't, you will know far in advance. And I don't see a lot of those on the agenda this time. We don't need a motion for this item. It really just was information. Wanted to make sure we had it on the agenda. Often in years when we have more time, and in an election year it is not it, this will be a committee of the whole agenda item and we'll get a bit more of a chance to debrief through it. But there's just not that many days since we've all been elected, so this is a great way to do it for this year. Next, we'll move along to correspondence and information items. Do we have any questions on any of those items listed? And I do have one to kick off. It's on the fire department stats on page 161. Just curious if the fourth item down when it says Sylvan Lake, is that incidents actually on the lake? So it looks like there was 15 year to date, which seems consistent with what I expect for water type rescues. And we can get that answer back to us.
Thank you. I'll confirm with our fire chief.
Thank you.
I would
And
think yes, based on the town is on there and Sylvan Lake, so, but I
I
will
think so
confirm.
too. And if that is the case, I'm wondering if the name of the response zone could really be edited to ensure that's clear for future times. Councillor Bilodeau.
I was agreeing. I got a little confused by us being in there twice.
Yeah, that's great. Any additional questions on any of those correspondence and information items? All right, move along to the CAO report. Ms. Phillips.
So the CAO report is in your agenda for review and any questions. I will highlight a couple items from each department. So within our wellness and community connections, we did extend our programming during the teacher strike. So there's some information in there, including day camps and drop-in hours. And then we added 71 program visits during this time and saw 30 unique clients. So I think that was a great opportunity to assist the community as well as showcase our facility. Recreation and culture, of course, there's a lot going on there this weekend. I want to send I don't have my mic on. A huge thank you to our Nextsource staff, Monique and her crew, John and Christy did an amazing job, as well as their entire team. They were there endless hours, and what an amazing event. So thank you to the crew over there. And also just point out that we also have our Remembrance Day ceremony taking place tomorrow, so at the multi-campus gym, for anyone that's interested. Parks and Protective Services, there was a little bit of talk about this online, so I'll just highlight that our security pebbles are in place as part of our Lakefront Shore project, as well as electrical enhancements on the pier. It sounded weird as I said it. Will be completed this week. And then the Winter Village, the light up takes place on Thursday, I believe now, with the new changes, so. There are planning and development statistics attached quite extensively if you want to review those, if anyone has any questions. There was an appeal hearing on October 24th for an approved development permit of a 60-unit multiple housing development at 17 Hinshaw Drive. And this was reviewed by our regional SDAB, our subdivision appeal board, and the decision was upheld. The MPC decision was upheld. Public Works, annual crack sealing was completed with over 25,000 linear meters of asphalt cracks filled in. And our annual roadway patching program ended as well with 58 road patches completed. So if there's any questions or comment on the rest of the report.
Excellent, thank you. Any questions? Councillor Ostindi.
You already said kudos to our rec department and those who helped on the BRC, but I also want to especially highlight during the education disruption how able and willing the youth services, especially of the WCC, were able to pivot and provide so many programs. So I know through Community Hub, we talked about it just before that and during, and yeah, just want to acknowledge.
Yes, and we had those programs at WCC and at the Next Door Center, so it was really great to see how we could open up our facilities to keep our youth busy. Excellent. Councillor Iwanicki.
Really, really small comment. It's actually on a technical thing with the reports. If at all possible, on the reports on the PDF version, can we have everything oriented the same way? It's really difficult to go through page by page to flip them over. Yeah. Please.
You're saying your neck was sore after?
I just turned my laptop like this.
There you go.
There, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, auto rotate.
Excellent. Any further questions? Seeing none, council request for information and updates. Council, is there anything that we haven't touched on tonight? Yes, Councillor Johansson.
Yeah, I mentioned this last time, and I don't know if it was resolved or not, but did we figure out, did we change the under 4 hours, over 4 hours thing? Remember, because it says in the official policy, it's now just 2 options, under 4 hours, over.
Yes, Ms. Phillips.
Sorry, when we reviewed the policy, which we will be bringing back again with more changes, the back page is just the summary of what was updated on the previous change. The actual content of the policy is the policy. So it has in there under 2 hours, it has the 3 times
It's still the 3
in there.
Okay.
So the back page is just, this is what happened in the last meeting, or the last change of the policy. It isn't the actual policy.
Okay.
So
Gotcha. Thank you.
the 3 are still there.
Okay. Gotcha.
Thank you. Excellent. Next, we will move into a closed meeting. Would someone like to make that motion? Councillor Mearns.
I'll make a motion on this regular meeting of council continue with the closed meeting to discuss the Q3 2025 legal liability report. This item shall remain confidential pursuant to section 27(1)A of Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, RSA 2000 CF25, and section 197(2) of the Municipal Government Act, RSA 2000 CM25.
Excellent. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. We will, do we feel like we need a break, council? Let's take 5 and then we'll head in the Lizelle room. Thank you. All right, we are back. Councilor Johannesson, do you have a motion for us?
Yeah, I move that the closed session concludes and council reverts back to the regular meeting of council.
Excellent. All those in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. We have reached the end of our agenda items. Meeting is adjourned, council.